Hi, welcome to Sunshine Secret of OC. I'm your host, Lisa Husher. Today we are going to dive into the energies and messages that move, inspire, make us cry, make us laugh, and, well, hopefully not make us cry too much. So sit back and relax, and let's see what divine messages come through today. Today we have our guest, Mike, from the Inner Circle Studio, or Inner Circle on Air.
Yes, ma'am, both.
And my friend, thank you so much for traveling and coming. Been excited to have you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So thank you so much. And you were saying you're just going into your 60th
Yes,
episode.
Monday will be the 60th.
So how long has that taken you to get to?
Gosh, it's been a year. Yeah.
That doesn't seem like that's that long.
I know.
I thought you were going to say it's been,
The year went by quickly.
Yeah, you've had a lot of amazing guests,
including yourself.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. That was really a joy, and we've had several conversations since then.
Yes.
And I know you're also in a book.
Yes.
This year as well.
Yep. The Imperfectly Perfect campaign.
So are you imperfect or are you perfect?
A little bit of both.
And that's been what? Tell me about that experience. Has that been an emotional experience for you?
Yeah. So actually, through that process, I'm just one of 15 people writing a chapter within that campaign. Mm-hmm. And I'm writing about the loss of my brother. And you and I have talked a little bit about that. We talked a little bit about that during the episode we did on my podcast. I shared a little bit about that story with you. And so that's been an emotional experience, kind of just reliving the details of all of that. A lot comes up, you forget about it until you start writing about it in a book. So that's been a little emotional.
And how many years ago did he pass? How many years ago did he pass?
It's been over 20 years.
Right.
And but it's always like, every year it's the anniversary comes up, or his birthday was Christmas Eve, and so my birthday's December 22nd, so we always, what I mean, so the holidays are weird year to year, and sometimes some years it's a celebration of life, and sometimes it's grief, and sometimes it's a mix.
It's hard to make those times. Like when my mom passed, she passed right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So after that, I'm like, I don't want Thanksgiving.
Right.
I don't need Thanksgiving, and I have nothing to thanks
That
about.
was my last meal with my grandmother, actually, was Thanksgiving.
Really?
And then she passed on December 5th.
Okay.
So the holidays are weird,
Right?
There's those tie-ins, yeah.
And before we talk about, just because I'm feeling her energy, and you sent me a photo of her.
Yeah.
But before we kind of get into a little bit more of how you're healing and having writing being cathartic, getting all that out. You were very close with your grandmother.
I was at the end. So not as a child growing up. She wasn't close with her children by any means. And so everyone has a different experience with their parents.
Right.
And then kids have different experiences with their grandparents. And I got to know her more towards the end. I spent time with her, and my folks had moved to Florida, and my grandmother was near me in Michigan. Uh-huh. So as she got on in years, she didn't want to vacate her house after my grandfather died.
Of course,
and so she wanted to stay there for as long as she wanted to stay there.
Of course.
And so I would travel out there and help her run errands and manage this, that, and the other, and until it wasn't sustainable for her to live there. She had an injury and then ended up in the hospital.
What did she do? I don't know why this is just something that's coming through to me. I'm not sure what the correlation is, but because when did you start your podcast?
Let's see. I came up with it in 2020.
And when did she pass?
She passed just prior to. Yeah.
Okay. So was she, I don't know where, and I know you had a newer relationship with her towards the end.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and then she was Dad's?
This was my mother's mother.
Okay, so Dad's mom, though, she's gone.
Yes.
Okay, because one of them, I feel like it's this grandmother, though, was like a communicator, like a good communicator, or did something in communication in there career or something?
She worked for 25 years for Detroit Bank and Trust. She was the head of trust.
Okay.
And her
I
father.
like that head of trust.
Yeah, she
You're
was
kind of
head
head
of
of trust
trust.
too, Mike.
Well, thanks. It's a nice title to have.
But like
She did. She worked within the banks, and then her father was the VP of the Mobile Oil Refinery in Trenton, Michigan.
Okay.
So he was originally working at the Mobile Oil Refinery in Missouri.
Okay.
And then there was a fire and they relocated to the Detroit area.
But as far as like her, like a leadership role in speaking and kind of, because I see you as that, as a leader, you're speaking and you're a kind of you're a mentor to people as well.
Yes.
Was she, well, I would think if she's in that field, you know, she's kind of a leader, like a leadership role.
She was in a leadership role, yes.
But I don't know, did you find them it's hard when they've changed when they're a little bit older, but did you find as far as her communication, did you guys have good talks?
We had good talks.
Okay.
So I had a much different relationship with her than her own children did.
Right. I see that.
Yeah, they were not close.
Right.
And so I was also with her when she passed away. I was holding
Right.
her hand. I think I sent you that picture. I took the picture because my mom couldn't be here. She had just left.
Right.
She had just flown back home, and then things went another direction. And so I had taken that picture to send to her to let her know I was with her, and that she wasn't passing alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's, yeah, because I felt like there was something out of those conversations that you got that you bring to the table.
She opened up to me quite a bit. So
Okay.
as I would go over and visit, she would open up and tell me stories. She lost her husband, who was the love of her life, my grandfather. And she opened up a lot about those feelings and would have conversations with me that she couldn't have with other people. And I knew when I would go over to visit her, we would have various things to take care of, but we would find our way to pictures. And so we would go through boxes, and she had family history books made. So she would start sharing stories with me, and we would do that. 3-4 hours would go by, and we'd be looking at old photos, and she'd be sharing with me about what her life was like before she had children. She was a young mother also. She had my mom, I think, when she was 16, 17 years old.
So she was like a storyteller.
Yeah.
I feel like you're a storyteller. Well, you talk and you tell stories. I feel like I get really like, okay, then what happened? and then what'd he say?
It's a lot of life
where'd
experience,
you go?
yeah.
Just kind of like that, the rhythmic flow of telling a story.
And she enjoyed talking,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed relationship building with her. I wasn't not close with her growing up, but typically growing up as a grandchild, I had a typical relationship with my grandparents.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing overly close.
Right.
But like I said, as I got older and
She saw you more of a peer too. She's, you know what I mean? Even though she was older, you were older, you weren't a child. She didn't,
Right.
She didn't treat you like a child.
Exactly.
So she was opening up. She shared more to you than she would have because...
And I was giving her dignity and respect because as you
Yeah.
go on in years and when you get to that age, like everybody has their opinion of what you should be doing.
Right.
They wanted her to sell off her belongings. They wanted her to move into a nursing community. She didn't feel safe doing that. And I would share with her, when you're ready to make these decisions, you'll know.
Right.
Don't let anybody else pressure you into the thing.
Right.
So she appreciated that, and she could trust me, and
Well, it sounds like you guys had an amazing relationship, and how blessed are you to be able to have been with her during that time. And
Yeah.
it's such a privilege, Yeah.
It was interesting for me to learn that side of her because, like I said, everybody has their own opinion of you as a person, as a human. And when you're getting to know the softer side of someone that isn't perceived by others as having a softer side, it's a unique perspective to have. So I was very appreciative of that, to get to know that side of my grandmother, because sometimes you'll only get the one side how someone feels about you,
Right.
From another person, unless you have the experience yourself.
Right. And I think you probably took a lot from that too.
I did.
In your podcast and your ability to not only like ask good questions and to get engaged with people, but also for you to share your vulnerability.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's why you and I had such a great discussion, because, men typically have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
They, and especially in front of people.
Yeah.
So that's, you probably got some practice with her, because she also was a very strong person. And
She
even
was
though she was a
strong.
woman,
Yeah.
she had that masculine quality as well, that she was strong. She wasn't going to share that with people. I mean, she shared that with you.
Exactly. She was an animal person. She was not very much a people person, as far as she wasn't perceived as a very warm, compassionate person by any means.
Yeah.
I knew her differently.
Right.
You know, as that relationship unfolded, I saw she was.
Yeah.
But we don't know what people are carrying with them.
Right.
And so I was learning about things that she'd never shared with people before.
Right.
You know, that those experiences kind of shape you as you go on in life, and there's reasons why people are the way they are based on the experiences that they've endured in life. People are carrying trauma.
Oh yeah, and they do certain things because they are looking to cope.
Yes.
And coping skills, and I know you went through that with your brother, with the loss of your brother too,
Yes.
in like how to deal. We all do deal with things differently. You know, but you've come a long way since that. But I know it sounds like doing the book, you're now like revisiting.
You don't know how far you've come until you start writing a chapter in a book.
What's the hardest part of revisiting that time in your life?
The details that I kind of had let go of, perseverating on, like the circumstances of his death. My brother wasn't alone when he passed away, and he died of a drug overdose, and he died surrounded around people he called friends that let him pass. So he had been in the process of the overdose for hours before anybody took any action. Ultimately, they put him in his bathtub, cleaned the scene, and made it look as though he was there by himself, and then called 911 and made it seem as though one of them had just come over in the morning and found him like that in the tub. So it was a whole, I put a lot of those details to bed away.
Painful, and I'm sure
there's a lot of anger that comes
I was
with
just
that.
about to. You took it out of my mouth. Yeah.
And for my parents,
rage.
Yeah.
Rage.
Of course.
Rage, and I think you probably had that at rage, even if you didn't know all the details then. But that's where you took that journey of rage.
I did, and it makes my heart race just talking about it.
It makes me sweat.
Yeah, me too. Man. So we need a deodorant sponsor. No, but that's the way it was, and a lot of the things, pulling up those details.
Yeah.
It's one thing to start bringing up the memories, but then it's another to get into the dirty details of all of it, and then the planning and all those things unfolding while the funeral was happening. So, one of the guys finally confess, and then these are things that my parents don't know about, and then now all of a sudden they do know, and to know that things could have went another direction, that's a lot to take.
It's a lot to take. And how do you, like, it's been 20 years. So how do you continue to, I think with a lot of people, they don't realize that, and it doesn't matter whether it's somebody that passes away, not traumatically or traumatically. I mean, it's still painful. But how do you ever, do you ever really heal? You just keep going and going and going, and then things come up. Like you had this opportunity with the book, and then all of a sudden you're like, holy, this hurts again.
Right. And it's like an ever-evolving process. Before I used to just self-medicate and, kind of not deal with those feelings.
Right.
But I didn't know how. I didn't have the tools and the resources that I do as I've gotten along in life, with more experience and mentors and having conversations with people like you, that are willing to listen and kind of give you a safe place to be vulnerable and share those experiences. But each year it's different. Some years it's, like I said, a celebration of life. Other years it's more about grief. And I do different things like just managing my mental health by, doing things outside of self-destructive behavior, like drinking. That was a thing for me. After his death, I drank heavily, for years on end with that.
Do you find that, have you found more spirituality? Like, are you finding peace and kind of exploring that a little bit more? Like
Absolutely.
Because I feel like the conversations we've had, you're really open, and you've told me some stories that you're like, well, I don't really talk about this because people might think it's weird. And that's one of the things that I do now. I'm like, I'm weird.
Yeah.
I'm weird.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, and I don't care anymore.
That's where I'm at with it too. So I started down that path. I shared with you, I think, 2016. I had a new career path happening I started my own business. I had several experiences come my way that I wasn't expecting, several curveballs come. And, kind of navigating through those brought me to my knees, and found my way down a spiritual path that is ever evolving. And I'm so grateful for that. And that actually brought me, I feel like, closer to people that I've loved and lost and reconnected with spiritually through that. And I found that healing.
So do you feel like it started from once you hit rock bottom?
I do.
And then you just surrendered?
And everyone's rock bottom looks differently,
Yeah. Hopefully my rock bottom is pretty.
Yeah. How could it not be? You're gorgeous. Are you kidding me?
A pretty rock bottom.
Yes. And so, that was a great experience for me. I don't regret any of that. And I shared with you the white deer.
I wanted to ask you, could you share that with us again? Because that is the most beautiful story. I love it.
Yeah, so I had started where the town where my brother passed away. I grew up in that town, and I would drive when I started my business. There's a beautiful park there, and that became kind of like my office and my sanctuary. And I would go there, and I would work out. I would train, and you could work out. There was a 8-mile path I would walk, so I'd walk 8 miles a day, and I would work out 2 times a day because my mind was racing. I was starting a business, and I was starting from scratch. So a lot on my mind, and then you don't get to pick when you're going to process different things.
Right.
It comes when it comes. So it's like, we're going to think about this today,
right.
While we've got 13 other things going on. So I had to take it as it came, and I had been praying heavily, and I would find my way to these various spots in the woods, and I was having a particularly rough day, and I was praying, and this white deer appeared. Like, it didn't just magically appear. I had turned around, I was there, and then the deer walked up, and then I was like fascinated by this. So I sat down.
What was your first? Were you like, holy shit, or like, oh, what was your first?
Yeah, kind of, because I'd never seen a white deer before, and I was like, this is.
I saw one in the photo you sent me.
Yes, and so it would just. It was just unique, and there were other animals that would fly around. Birds would, land in mysterious spots and things like that when I would be out there. And, you just sit in nature and become one. Yeah. Things happen, observe,
Hello, bird.
Yes.
Hello, fly. Hello, butterfly.
Exactly. Various deer would show up and things like this. And so the white deer was unique, but the white deer would sit down, in this beautiful greenery. And then I would sit down. And sometimes the deer would stay longer than I did. It would be like 3 hours, and that deer would still just be sitting there. And so it was unique. And I was just, I was in a lot of despair around that time, like deep despair. Like, I was praying not to wake up in the morning during that time. So I didn't feel like I had a reason. I wasn't sure why I should even keep going at that point. It was like, how much more could I endure? I didn't understand my purpose or my place. And so, but I was so fascinated by that interaction. That was getting me up in the morning to keep coming back there.
Is it coming back?
Yeah. And so it was like you couldn't plan it. It just happened when it happened. And it was like 3 years of that, going to that various spots and relationship building with that deer. It sounds weird, but that's what it was.
It doesn't. And it also similar to where people have animals.
Yeah.
Because they're healing. And the deer, obviously, with the white representing peace. But, I had told you I thought that the energy felt like your brother.
Yeah.
Like it was your brother. But not even saying anything, but just it's an inner healing. That energy between you and the deer, just the connection of the two.
Yeah.
Slowly, day by day. Do you know what I mean?
Providing healing energy.
Healing
and
energy.
It did. I did feel that. It was peaceful.
Peaceful, but just when you were at a point where words were not going to work.
No.
Doesn't matter what anybody's going to say to you.
I had disconnected from everybody around that time because I really needed to. I was doing a lot of deep work, shadow work, and all of this. And I've explained a little bit of it to you. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on, and so you can't really go through those experiences with people. For me, anyway, I couldn't go through those experiences with people around me all the time. Because you're listening to people, you're talking, and people are thinking you're crazy, and you're sharing your thoughts and your vulnerabilities.
Right, it's not helpful.
You're on a spiritual path, and you're watching things unfold, and you suddenly know there's more. It's like,
Yes.
how do you can't unknow that.
Right. No.
So.
And it doesn't matter if anybody believes you or
It's yours. Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you feel like when you came from that? I mean, it was like over a course of 3 years, right?
With the deer,
With the deer.
Yes.
But from the point where you started and then to the end, what was I mean, obviously you started a healing process but what was there anything that was like really, really stood out in your mind of like this experience?
Well, other things evolved out of that.
Okay.
So it was like I started paying attention to signs.
Okay.
Because, I started posting about that deer on social media, and there were people that knew things, like you should look into this, and they would send me links, and I started reading about what that meant.
Right.
And like what's happening when you have a special omen like that,
Right.
Come into your life. And so that opened my eyes to other things like numerology. We started talking about patterns, numbers, repeating numbers, sequences, and all of these things. I started paying attention to everything, and I could see it everywhere. And so that became fascinating to me, and it just piqued my interest to take a deeper dive into spirituality.
Right.
And with those different experiences,
and also like kind of guided you too to where you are now, in the sense that not only were you doing some healing, but because you have a strong curiosity to learn. Mm-hmm. That's just part of your genetic being. Like I want to learn this, I want to understand this, and share this with me, and how did that happen? And you know what I mean? That's like, right? That's like how. So you took that, and that's such a special part of you. That whole experience was sort of like a catalyst. So it was a catalyst for you then seeking, right? You obviously to seek to heal, but also seek to guide. And that's what you're doing now, which is so beautiful. That part of your purpose is to help others. And so now you're on this quest of 60 episodes, but the conversations that you're having with people are meaningful, purposeful conversations to help others.
Yeah.
They're not just like, let's just talk about what kind of car you bought and how many miles did it have? You know what I mean? Like stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's really important
Purposeful.
things. Purposeful. People are getting so much out of it. So it really feels like it's been like really propelled you in this direction where you are. This is such an important part of who Mike is, who you are. Is to teach and to guide. So
thank you for that. And you're doing the same with yours. I think you have such a beautiful podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, in a different way. Yeah. Like these are our, and I had this, but I didn't always know, well, what do you do with it? And I also cared what
service to others,
what people thought. Now I'm like, I don't care. I just want to help people.
Yeah.
I just want to I want to contribute. I want to make a meaningful contribution. And you are doing the same thing.
And I think we talked on the episode of my podcast that you came on to just about purpose and kind of accepting your gifts, accepting yourself, like how you, as a young person, understood, and you just had to figure out how to channel that into helping others and what that looked like. And so it was
took a while.
Same for me too. I've always worked with people and creating safe environments for people to feel safe. And same with the podcast. So people need a safe place to share their vulnerabilities and tell their stories. And everyone's carrying something with them, as long as, like exactly what you're doing, providing a safe place for me to share my story.
And we all learn from other people's stories. That's how we learn. They might just sit and watch, but they're like, okay, I feel the same way, or that happened to me, or I didn't see a deer, but I saw, I don't know, a buffalo, a green buffalo, or you know what I mean?
A white buffalo,
whatever. So, but thank you so much for coming and traveling and coming and sitting down with me today. And I look forward to our next discussion, and
absolutely,
we'll see what comes of it. So,
yes, thank you so much for having me. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.